now. Actually, I'm going to take a short break and come back, and I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think about this question very, very carefully. Very, very carefully. Please think about this question when I come back. Just hold tight there. Cass Chopra, thank you again. Quick question. How do you process the word failure? What does failure mean to you? How do you process the word failure? Give us a comment if you can. What does failure mean to you? How do you process it? The word failure. Has anybody ever told you you've failed? Has anybody ever told you you've lost? Has anybody ever told you not good enough? You're a failed product. How do you process the word failure in your mind? How are you processing that word? There's a lot of things that people say to us sometimes, and those words can mean or can be destructive. So think about people that say things to you. They may be unpleasant or they may be pleasant. How do they make you feel? Also, think about when you've attempted something that's so difficult to you and you can't master it. Failure. Alright, I'll ask you another question. Have you ever failed? Have you ever failed? That's another question. Can you remember a time when you failed to do something? Have you ever failed to achieve something? What does it mean to be a failure? I don't want to get too negative with you here, but what does it mean to be a failure to you? What does failure mean? Think about it very, 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 very carefully. Remember that time when you failed? You didn't succeed? What does it mean to you? Now, I've asked this question a few times in different ways because I want you to consider the word failure and what it means to you. Because you remember when you were younger and you go back into an unconscious state and you think about when you were younger, when you were a baby, you think about how many times you failed to walk, how many times you've tried to stand up and sat down, how many times you slipped, how many times you walked up the stairs when you were maybe a bit older and you slipped and you got up and carried on, unless you were seriously injured. But in terms of the word failure, yes, you have done, but you didn't know what the word meant, did you, back then? So when you sat down, you stood up again. And then you slipped again, you sat down. As you were learning to walk, you failed. Yet, you didn't know what failure was back then. But if somebody had said to you, you would never walk again as a result of slipping and falling down, what would have happened? What would have happened to you? Would you be walking now? No, you wouldn't. So in terms of the word failure, what does it mean to you when you fail a job interview? Because according to neurolinguistics, the word failure means, or you could rephrase that word failure. You could say, what have I learned? What have I learned from this situation so that next time that won't happen again? I know some people, a few people that have put themselves in vulnerable situations. Maybe going out at night alone. Maybe going to speak to someone where there may have been a personal safety risk. From a security perspective. And they got bitten. So my question is, and they failed because they failed to look after their own personal safety. However, what did they learn? What did I say? Once bitten, twice shy. So they learned now that will never happen again. So the word failure in itself, failing for a job role you go into, maybe ask a better question, which might be, well, how can I do this with ease next time and float through this process and succeed in the attainment of this job role? Maybe that's the question you need to be asking. How can I do better next time?